Good morning and hello, my dear friends across time and space and all the platforms and dimensions. It is I, Sylvia Hartmann, coming to you live from beautiful Eastbourne by the sea. And as you can see, I have a rather happy, colorful background here behind me today. And that's still up from an interview I gave earlier, or an interview where it's a conversation. I have conversations with people. I had a wonderful conversation with Dieter Maas about the click and modern energy art. And as always, this has been really fascinating and inspiring. Yes, it made me jump up and start a new symbol painting to address something that's been bugging me for a long, long time. And so I'm happy and inspired and full of the joys of spring this morning. And we've got a great topic as well. Good morning, Guy 3 and Bear, my lovely dear Bear Collins from beautiful Ireland. Oh, delighted you're here with me this morning. Oh, Roberta, good morning. Yes, so colorful. Yes, we are very colorful today. One of the paintings, actually, the one there at the bottom there, trying to do this in mirror reverse, that's actually called A Colorful Life. And it is true, I'm having a very colorful life. Good morning, dear Ilka. Hello. Ilka's seen the chat about art with Dieter, and she says, yes, it was inspiring, loved it. I thought it was, it was really interesting as well to get the perspective on the experience for a gentleman. I think that was really valuable. It's been quite eye-opening to me. As you all know, I'm still wondering how to get more gentlemen interested in modern energy art. And it's lovely and logical. It's very nicely engineered. It's German engineering at its finest, this modern energy. Just at the multi-level. Good morning, Marianne. Hello there. Oh, I'm going to put that up. Cheer myself up. Ilka says, I love your colorful life. Oh, thank you. I love my colorful life too. It's a gift. It's a blessing, I guess. It's a blessing. I don't know what I've done to deserve it, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? Good morning, Carol Ann. Lovely to see you here. Good morning. Carol Ann is a star person. Yeah, okay, guys. It's nice that we are assembling here and saying good morning. German engineering. German engineering, love this. Well, it's true. I am German and I engineer personal development systems that work for human beings. That's exactly what I do. And I think of it as engineering, as to create something where all the parts fit together that is not just effective and practical and does what it says on the tin, but that it also has this love of engineering, of elegance, of just being, good. And I think very structurally, and that's always been a real problem with the sort of the more fairy flower-like ways of the old new age. And so I'm kind of, on some level, I'm really pleased that has sort of run its course and come to its end, because it was never, hard-hitting enough or structurally engineered enough for me. And I have discovered that German thinking is a bit of a superpower. I used to be ashamed of being a German, but I'm not anymore. It's, it's just something, possibly to do with the language, which is good fun. And it's also funny talking about specific engineering, and then you see these colorful things behind me, the modern energy art things, but even they are extremely structural. There are a language in color and movement that is personal to people, that is predictable. And that's what I was talking with Dieter about, how you can rely on the process. There is a logic to these colors. There is a logic to these shapes and movements. And I think that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Of course, there's logic to it. The entire multiverse is incredibly logical. You know, it's not random, for heaven's sake. It's for heaven's sake. It's not random, it's structural. We just start to need to use our beautiful minds to discern these structures and follow these structures and have a good time. Good morning, Wendy. Hello there. Hello. So this is going to be sort of the topic today. Something Sandra Hilawi said in a comment, which reminded me of something that I have been thinking about for quite a while now. And what that is reality divergence. And this may not sound very exciting, but it actually is really exciting. You just have to come with me here for a moment on this journey there. So, as you know, I've been thinking about doing a modern energy-based visibility course and started sort of collecting some ideas. And I often do this in visual form, take pictures and photographs and make little drawings and diagrams to sort of get into that theme. And actually, because I want to end up with one of those beautiful German engineered kind of step-by-step things that work so well. And in the course of that, I came across a passport photograph of mine when my aspect was 18 years old. And she is just glowering into the camera. She's just hating being photographed. And she looks just angry and scared, and just the energy of that is just incredible. You know, it's absolutely amazing. Bad, amazingly bad. And yet at the same time, the young girl in the picture is actually really beautiful. And that's the amazing thing, because she was absolutely convinced she was the most hideous creature on earth. You know, Frankenstein has nothing on her. Total reality divergence. And it's just thinking back on that, it was just so amazing. If you are actually really good looking and slim, aspect was slim, very slim, model slim, and you really have a basically a beautiful young face with perfect skin and sort of eyes and ears everywhere in the right places, sort of in the right proportions. Yeah, gee, and you're 1.72 meters tall without shoes on. You know, that's a good looking girl. But if that person then believes that they are hideously ugly, that is a reality divergence. And there's real reality, and then this diverged idea of being as ugly as Frankenstein's monster. And then she acts on that. She behaves as though this was the truth. And what that does is this divergence just creates chaos. Chaos. It must do. It affects everything. It affects her choices and decisions. It affects just everything and creates absolute fucking chaos. It can't not. And so I kind of thought, all right, fair enough. This is a problem, and this reality divergence. And here's something that I thought to myself. There's a structure to this and an outcome to this. I think that the more your perceived reality diverges from what actually is existing in reality, the more chaos this must manifest in your life, in the heart, in the physical body, in the energy body, on all levels. The more chaos this must create in a direct cause and effect. So we could really say that that to get back to some level of reality, to close that gap between, where this diverges, and bring that back together, where they're the same, they are the same, would be an amazing way to bring our energy average up, to lessen endless drama and chaos and incident and accident and weirdness happening in a person's incarnation. That this would be a great way of finding these reality divergences, where there's something that is being believed as to be true, just isn't. I love this. Just saying good morning to Cheryl and to Julie Elizabeth Rose White. Hello, my darlings. We're talking about reality divergence, where basically your idea of what is true diverges from what is really true. This is what's really true, and this is your idea. And the bigger this gap becomes, the more chaos it causes, literally in a measurable cause and effect. And my example was that of my 18-year-old aspect who thought she was absolutely hideously ugly and had to literally spend her life walking around with a paper bag over her head. And the actual reality, which was that she's perfectly serviceable, non-defected, perfectly serviceable female human being of a young age. That was the actual reality. And so every choice you make from that is wrong, takes you in the wrong direction. And that's why it's so important to come back to that and to start questioning some of these long-held beliefs that we have about the nature of reality. Because, it's like, what can I say? It can't get any better. It can't get any better when we are operating on these false assumptions. It just can't get any better. Yes, I think this happens to a lot of people. And I think that happens to more people now with the social media and the selfies and the brutal feedback on these social media platforms that we never had to deal with. We never had to deal with that with 10, 20, 50, 200,000, a million people shouting at you that you are ugly and horrible. We only ever had to deal with somebody probably giving you a look or overhearing something that somebody said in a bathroom, for God's sake. We can't even know what the young of today are suffering with in these sort of circumstances. And it's quite horrific to think in that direction. Perhaps, perhaps something from modern energy can seep through to those younglings and help them lead better lives than we have had to. Carol says, it's similar to feeling unlovable because you have attracted so much abuse in your life. Right, well, yeah, but it's the same thing. If you go around pretending to be unlovable when this is not the truth, we have a supermassive reality divergence. And this lovable thing, the love line, way back, this is going way back to the very beginnings of modern energy, when I was teaching Project Sanctuary, which has now become Supermind. I addressed this nobody loves me thing, that's being unlovable or nobody loves me thing, with a Project Sanctuary meditation. And if you have any friends or clients, you can by all means try this out. You imagine you are on this massive plane, and it's sort of a purple hue that shades through orange into gold. And you're standing on this flawless plane. And where you are standing is at the moment of your conception. And you're going to walk your timeline from the moment of your conception. But all you're going to meet are the people who have loved you. They may have loved you for a very short time, just a smile in a marketplace that made you feel happy, or some person who just gave a child who really wanted an ice cream, or it could be a lovely present from somebody. Little tiny incidences of being loved all across your life. And as you slowly walk forward on this love line, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer that you have been loved, that clearly, therefore, you must be lovable, and you kind of just forgot that somewhere. You kind of just forgot that. And as the evidence stacks up and up and up, and you're getting shocked and then really actually horrified just how much love there has been in your life, how many people have said, I love you, through their actions, through their smiles, through their behavior. It just gets to the point where the old thing just can't withstand the flood of evidence, and it just breaks under that flood of evidence. It just breaks. And that's the threshold shift. And you can't ever think that again. Nobody loves me, or nobody has loved me. It's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary thing. But, it was Project Sanctuary. It was too esoteric for oh so many. It was too difficult to do this hypnotic induction or to do this meditation. And some people could do it, and the majority of people never even tried. But fast forward 20, 30 years, and here we are with Star Matrix. And Star Matrix has this inevitable discovery in it, because you just can't do star memories for any length of time before you begin to become suspicious that perhaps what you thought about yourself, the very foundations of your self-concept, nobody loves me, I'm so unsuccessful, I haven't achieved anything in my life, I'm not talented, I'm not beautiful, I'm not good looking, I'm not interesting. All these reality divergences are being corrected when we start piling up the evidence. When we start, literally, this is like a court of law, where somebody says, you stand accused of being unlovable. And then we go into that and say, okay, have you ever been loved? Have you got a memory of somebody being nice to you? And so the first evidence comes in, and then the second evidence, and the third evidence, the fourth, the fifth, the 20th, the 30th. And at some point, something happens, and the bow breaks. And you never, ever think or say that again when that has happened. And this is a form of changing your mind that is not painful. It's an enormous relief. It's like this reality divergence creates like this massive rubber band that gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And it gets harder and harder and harder to try and navigate reality. More tiring, more stressful, more difficult. And the longer it goes on, the more this tension increases. And when this rubber band snaps, and this isn't there anymore, this strain, this stress isn't there any longer. This is such a feeling of, oh, thank God. I wish I changed my mind. Oh, how long ago is that? 43 years ago. I wish I changed my mind 43 years ago. I wish that had happened 43 years ago. My life would have been so much easier without that stress burden, this stress tension that never ever leaves you. Oh man. So yeah, I'm very excited about reality divergence and particularly about Star Matrix to bring the counter evidence. It's a thing of beauty to find out that you were wrong all along and that actually, whoa, yeah, you are lovable and you are beautiful and you are interesting and you have superpowers. And being German is not some kind of horrible curse, but actually a little superpower in its own right, especially as far as engineering is concerned, and possibly singing. Yeah, oh dear. Yeah. There's much I can say about reality divergence. I'm an expert in reality divergence, and I really am. I've lived my life in reality divergence. But perhaps the time has come to take away some of these burdens and stresses and strains and make life a little bit easier. That'd be nice. Oh. Cheryl says, "This is so true. Today it so exacerbates and causes so much suffering, also paved the way for all sorts of self-help techniques." Yeah, well, psychology is not going to help anybody get over that, is it? But it is a very, that whole thing with the virtual screaming that you're ugly and horrible. Yes, quite something. Quite something. All right, so reality divergence. There's all sorts of interesting ways in which this plays out. I'm going to tell you one of my big ones, which is ridiculous and hilarious and that's quite funny. Alan Belfour. Hi, I've managed to connect to your live transmission. Is this reality? Is this the real world? Or is it fantasy? I'm not so sure. I think it's the real world. I do. I've made lots of real world objects and they're quite hard. I'm still here. I think it's the real world. Okay, so the story I want to tell you, which is super fun. The other day, this is a couple of weeks ago, perhaps now, 10 days, I was scrolling through my social media feed and I saw somebody just writing this glowing review about somebody's book. This has changed my life. This is so brilliant. Oh, wow, what a fantastic book. And my response to this was, as it always is, oh, nobody likes my books. Nobody writes good reviews about my books. And it was like, in that moment, as I have thought this reactively, responsively for how long? I don't know how long I've started writing books. Decades, generations. In that moment, the thought was caught. And it was like my energy mind was just slapping me with these memories left and right, and where people had said good things about my books. And there was so much. It was literally as though somebody was slapping me around the head with a fish. I just started laughing and I thought, oh my God, what the hell have I been doing these past decades/generations? What have I been doing? Thinking that nobody likes my books and nobody writes good reviews about my books. This is so blatantly untrue. From the very first, oh man, it was just a cascade from Your Dog and Your Baby, A Practical Guide onwards. I can't even think of how many people have said bad things about my books. It's ridiculous. It was absolute. What the hell kind of a reality divergence is that? And there was this effect when this giant rubber band just went snap. Oh man, and the relief of that. It's such a relief, actually, that it kind of washes away wanting to take all the past aspects and just throttle them for their wrongful belief, or wanting to find out where this wrongful belief came from in the first place, or what the hell I had been doing in my head all these years. It's incredible. It's insane. It's ridiculous. My God. how many good reviews all my books and articles have had over the years. It's insane. And yet Sylvia, all these Sylvia aspects were operating that nobody likes her books. What the fuck is that? Wow. I know that I can be a bit extreme, but I know also that there are other people out there who are suffering from this kind of reality divergence, where they believe something that is blatantly not true, and because it's not true, it causes this stress, this tension, and chaos that can never be resolved, and that just gets worse the older you get. Rather than getting better or going away or time healing it, it's just getting worse, because it's diverging ever more from reality, and you're just not strong enough anymore as you're getting older to cope with that. Oh, man. Yes. Such a topic. It's an amazing topic. And it goes really for everything. It goes for everything. An interesting thing that I just thought was, it just popped into my mind. My original sort of big moment where I not just got this whole energy thing, but I also fell out of the idea that science is here to serve us, and that scientists are honorable people, and that they are seeking the truth. I crashed out of that sort of belief system, and I've been a conspiracy realist ever since. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy realist. There really are conspiracies, believe it or not. And one of them was that we were told we were researching the effects of dog food on animal behavior. But what it really was, we were supposed to make fake statistics to use in the marketing of said dog food. And that is also a thing. See, if you are doing this fake science with the wrong results, it just gets worse and worse and worse over time, and the tension becomes worse and worse and worse over time, like with any other reality divergence. And eventually the bow must break. Something has to give. It's like, there's an old saying about lies, isn't there? That lies are all right at the beginning, but the longer they go on, the more complicated they become, the more difficult they become to maintain, the more problems they cause, the more chaos they cause. And that is exactly what I'm talking about here, this reality divergence and the rubber band that tightens and tightens and tightens until something must snap. And yeah, and what I'm particularly interested in, as you know, is how to make people happier and to take out those lies. Yeah, call them that. Reality divergence, lies. You say tomato, I say tomato. Erroneous facts, incorrect data. Many, many words for that. But I have great hope that each one of us who gets a sense of that, this thing, can do something with it, can do something about it for themselves. They can spot it in other people's. And a really cool one that I spotted the other day when I was talking about this is my partner is convinced he has a horrible voice, that his voice doesn't sound nice. And I'd like to say that I am a person that listens very carefully, because I used to be nearly blind as a child. Voices are super important to me. If he had a horrible voice, he wouldn't be here. He just wouldn't be here. In fact, there was a memory just popped up. A younger aspect was in a bar where they did folk singing. And there was this really nice looking young man sitting at the table. The aspect looked around, didn't see any girlfriends or wives or anything. So she thought, I'll go over and say hi. So she said, hello. And this guy, this really pretty guy, looked up at her and went, "Hello." Oh, he had the worst voice ever. And I'm very sorry, but oh man. And I really did feel sorry for him. So I just sort of smiled and said, I just said a few words and then just gently just slithered away because I couldn't take it. So as somebody who's done endless hypnosis recordings, endless studio recordings with all sorts of people, I've been in 3 bands, I sing. I can, he does not have a horrible voice. This is a reality divergence. It is a total reality divergence that needs to be corrected. He has a lovely voice. But the fact that he thinks he has a terrible voice stops him from singing. It stops him from playing with his voice, like dropping it down an octave, or going really high and just having fun with his voice. Yeah, that's really the essence of that, having fun with his voice. And that's a shame. That's a real shame. I mean, you could say this little thing doesn't affect much of his incarnation. But I don't know. I don't know. Plot that across time and space where you're talking to somebody and you just shift your voice. You just shift your voice just a little. And that person becomes more responsive to what you're trying to get them to do. Don't know how many missed opportunities there are in that lifetime of believing that your voice is not nice when actually it is a perfectly serviceable voice that can be used for all sorts of cool things, that can be fun, that can be played with. That's just a good thing in your life, a fun thing in your life. Kim Bradley, I never thought that about you, Martin. No, nobody thinks that. It's a reality divergence. It's a total reality divergence. People are happy to listen to your voice. You've got great voice. But until this inner experience happens where something snaps, how do we, it's just going to be reality for that person. And that's something that, I would like to discuss as well. It's not good enough if you say have a teenage daughter like my aspect who's just sobbing and stabbing at her own head because she's so ugly. We have to acknowledge and realize that this is absolute reality for that person. And we have to find ways to snapping them out of it. To create that event, this healing event, this energy event. That's where it's at. We need to create an energy event for that person to come back to reality. And I'd like to say that if there's anybody listening here who doesn't have a clue about modern energy yet and doesn't know what we are and what we are about, I would just like to say that this doesn't lead you to then think you're the most beautiful person in the world and go into delusion on the other side. I mean, that's another reality distortion. If you think you're the most beautiful person in the world and you're not, that creates a rubber band going the other way, but a rubber band nonetheless. There is a better place there, a more reality-based place where you can, I don't know, say, yeah, okay, this is so, and then we can do something with it. We can play with it. It doesn't lead you into some kind of craziness. It doesn't. I can promise that. So yeah, reality divergence exists in science, exists in philosophy big time. That's probably because they used to do an awful lot of drugs when they were having their philosophical thought sessions. You can always tell what kind of drugs they were using because, people on crystal meth always come to the same conclusion. And the people on hash always come to the same conclusions, but they're very different from the conclusions that the people on meth came to. These and many other wonderful things. I mean, there's these reality divergence about life itself. Life is hard. Is it? What if that wasn't true? What if that wasn't true? That would create a massive reality divergence over all of life. Just one popped into my mind. I'm just going to say it, the reality divergence of the potential. I'm not going to say this is a real reality divergence. The potential reality divergence of there is no God and there actually is one. Sorry, this is making me laugh. This is really making me laugh. Yes. Well, look, my theory goes as follows. The great universal order has laws and regulations. It does. It is not random. Even if these laws and regulations are, sometimes difficult to discern or difficult to find out what they are. But we can learn about them because if we are sort of doing the right thing, we get rewarded with good feelings, good emotions, good behaviors, good results. Good results. This is important. Good results. Oh God, this awful joke about some guy coming and buying 1,000 chickens to start his chicken farm. And then the next week he comes to buy another 1,000. The third week, the supplier says, "What are you doing with those chickens? Why do you keep buying them?" And he says, "I don't know. It's possible I'm either planting them too close together or too deep." So this is what I mean by results in real reality. There is a way to raise chickens correctly, and of course there's also a way to plant seeds correctly. If you don't follow the rules of the great creative order on these topics, you are not going to get grown-up chickens and you're not going to get beautiful orchards. You're not. And I believe that there are such rules for human beings as well, such principles of nature, of how things are done and how they're not done. And pain and suffering and chaos, to me, is my sign, that's feedback from the universe that we're doing something wrong, that we have diverged from the program, from reality. And if we have good results, beautiful things, things that work, things that are exciting and empowering and joyful, there we're doing something right. We're going in the right direction. We're going with the plan of the great universal order instead of bashing our heads endlessly against the rocks. So this is my guiding principle to the great creative order, that the feedback we're getting is the result of the actions that we have undertaken. And that's so with the reality divergence. You could say, to me, reality is the great creative order and its complex, multifold doings, and the pain and suffering and chaos that results when we diverge in our heads, in our concepts, from what there really is. I mean, there is just, possibly the greatest divergence is to be dealing with something that doesn't even exist. It's this village and they believe there's a giant monster out in the woods, but there isn't one. Because the monster doesn't exist, you are free to endlessly speculate on all the ways to fight it, to entrap it, what it can do to you, and to spend your entire life in the village living in fear. And that craziness and that fear is kind of the result of that reality divergence. But let's not philosophize too much. My dear, dear friends who have been patiently listening to me, and if you're still here with me on the replays, congratulations for making it that far. I think reality divergence is a really interesting topic, and at the very least, it gives us a reason to start questioning again what we believe to be true. at a deep level, and also perhaps become a little bit more self-reflective when something happens, like on social media, and you're seeing something and you're getting angry or you're getting jealous, or you are literally feeling yourself think that old thing again, whatever it may be, and that this may be one of those beliefs, one of those diverged reality ideas that need to be corrected. And we can correct them with counterexamples through Star Matrix. We can correct them, or at least evolve them. Look, you don't have to solve it. You can evolve it. If you found that you have something like, I don't like my voice, or my voice is terrible, or I'm so ugly, or I'm too old to find love, or whatever the hell kind of a thing makes you sad, makes you feel like a victim, makes you feel helpless, hopeless, depressed, we can say, okay, at the moment, I believe this to be true, but I'm going to just tap on it, or just say it 3 times in the heart position. I'm too old to find love. I'm too old to find love. I'm too old. I'm too wrinkly, too fat, too German. And just say it out aloud and let something happen. Let some little thing start to evolve. Start a process of softening up these ancient things, these curses, if you want to call them that, these weird spells that have distorted and diverged our reality and caused it to be harder than it needs to be. No, I'm not saying that we can float through life as though we're just like, I'm not saying that. Everybody will have challenges and stuff, but I believe that one of the jobs here we have in this incarnation is to try and figure out to make it as fun as possible, as joyful as possible, and not to make it unnecessarily hard or create any strictly unnecessary suffering. And where we can find unnecessary suffering, to go ahead and do something about it and remove that from the playing field. Now we take all the unnecessary suffering out, then we are probably left with the real suffering, and then we can do something about the real suffering, Then we have the time and attention to deal with it. I think that would make sense to me. Okay. Gayatri said, thank you so much. The topic of invisibility really got me thinking this whole week. And I love how your reality divergence can be a self-reflective tool to who our aspects have been and who we can be. Yes, absolutely. And as I say, I don't want to send anybody in a delusion that they are prettier than they are, or that they are smarter than they are, or anything like that. Let's just get a little bit more realistic is all I'm asking for. And my God, that's not so much to ask for, is it, people? Oh, Martin says, I was too broken, or so I thought, until I met you. Yes, and darling, my dear darling. It's a lot of people think that, and it's just really severe stress. Stress gets too bad. We all think that. Let's see what Carol says. Okay, yeah, the thing about just saying your poor thing, doing the poor me. Yeah, I know, you can't keep it up. Something happens where, and this makes me think quickly something else before we go, which is just don't be afraid to say these things that you believe out loud. Don't be afraid, go somewhere quiet and just say it, whatever it is, just say it. Don't hide it. Don't be ashamed of it. Because then you get these weird layers. Get somebody who thinks that they're like really, really ugly, right? And then they put a layer over it of some kind. Like, I don't know, just pictorially. Then they put a lot of makeup on, so they don't actually look any more like themselves, but like something else. And then they put another layer over the top of that and another layer over top of that. And then they go, woohoo, look at me, aren't I beautiful? It's like an onion. It's fascinating. But yeah, reality divergence. Let's try and be real. Oh, and oh God, yeah. I'm going to be telling this story on the visibility course as well. But I love this story, and I just love it because it was a star event for me. I was at a Mind Body Spirit meeting having a chat with one of the presenters who was about 65, 70 years old. This presenter was. And they had, this is prior really to internet being as it is today. So they had been using the same publicity picture of themselves, a picture, for at least 30 years in books and on websites and so on. And I'm standing here and they were standing in front of me. And I saw somebody who was a big fan of this person come running along and wanting to talk to this guy. And this person goes, oh, hello, you are blah, blah, blah. And this guy turns around. And as he turns around, this woman goes, ah! Literally takes 3 steps back. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm watching this going on. And I'm like, oh my God, I just never, ever, ever, ever want that to happen to me. Never, ever, ever do I want somebody to think I'm like this, I don't know, young, glowing, wonderful being, like on the book covers. And then they actually see me in real life and react with, yeah, just no. And I don't know what I learned about visibility and reality creation in that one moment. But I've really done my best to make it so that if you ever see me in real life in a supermarket or at a conference, that you are going to recognize me and say, hey, oh yeah, that's Sylvia Hartman. That's who that is. I just love that story. And yeah. So I leave that thought with you, that there is worse than people looking at your photo on a website or in a book and going, oh, she's ugly. There's worse than that. There is pretending to, or somehow not updating your image, even in this case, and also just not putting too much makeup on and too many edits and photoshops on the picture, so that when somebody in real life sees you, they go, ah. That's worse. That's a lot worse for your self-esteem, for your incarnation and everything else. So yeah, let's stay up to date. Let's stay real. That'll help. I like real. I really like real. I do my personal development in public for that very reason. So yeah, guys, right. I hope that was fun today. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope it'll give you some food for thought and something to look out for in the week that comes. I think that, sorting out our reality divergence, snapping these stresses so that they can come back into a single powerful operating whole that can then go forward in life, or, swim through life like a salmon swims down the stream on the way to the ocean. Yeah, that'd be nice. I think that would be lovely. Oh, okay, my dear friends and fellow energists and wonderful shining beings. Thank you very much for being here with me today. Please, on YouTube, like and share the video if you found it helpful, if you found it inspiring, if you want to help us get the word out about energy and about that, oh God, that we are probably human beings. We are probably better human beings than any of us dares believe at this moment. Okay, my lovelies, thank you for your time. Love you lots. Have a good week. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again here with me next week for Sunday with Sylvia. Bye for now. Lots of love.